All right, everyone. This is Memphis Mark coming to you from Mullet Manor, and today we're going to do the Collision review. And of course, I have my regular crew, and that's this week. This week we've got the Gardener, Michael Gross. How you doing, Michael?
I'm living the American dream down here in Louisville, just waiting for my tap water to turn into honey and beer.
Oh, wait a minute. Did you find out something I didn't know? We'll talk later. And we also have Maintenance Maverick from across the pond. How you doing there, Mav?
Doing just okay in the UK. How about you over there, Mark?
Man, we're trying. We're gonna. If I complain, nobody would listen. So I tell you what, we'll just jump into it. And of course, we have our cold interview opening there. And man, each week, I'm kind of impressed. I'm waiting for it to be really, really bad. And even this week, you got the Acclaim, no daddy ass, and you got Christian Cage and FTR and CM. I mean, good little promos. What'd you guys think?
I loved it. I really enjoyed the fact that they're continuing this cold open. We've talked about it in the past that it really kind of amps you up for the show and it gives you an idea who's going to be broadcast on the program besides whatever's advertised the week before. So I like it. We're stating our grounds. We're furthering our feuds. We're throwing a little barb out here, a little barb out there, not only at their adversaries, but also at us, the viewers, to try to hook us. It's like they're fishing for viewers, so to speak, and fishing for, our attention to say, hey, we're going to be on at some point in the show today. So if you're a fan of me, come see it. And everybody knows the adverse effect. If you don't like somebody, you're probably going to watch it twice as much just to hate on them. Mav, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great way to start off the show, and I'm glad that they're keeping up with it at this point because, I mean, it's still working well. I think that this is a great way that they've been starting it off, and I really enjoy, like you said, when you don't like somebody, you're going to watch it twice as hard because you want to see them fall. Well, I'm still watching Christian just as much because I'm really enjoying his heel work, and even just this beginning promo with him and Luchasaurus, it's still working. I'm still really enjoying it, and I believe that led into Ricky Starks had a promo. Mark, you want to start off on that?
Man, I liked it. Other than his maybe lover boy from the 80s outfit, or possibly what was that, Men Down Under? I don't know where that outfit came from, but then
Village
again,
people.
No, wait. I'm just saying I'm old. Maybe it's something I just don't understand. But I do like his intensity. I like him coming out and saying, this is the way it is. This is my way. And he's creating an identity. And I really like the fact they threw in that little curveball to us. He's got the manager's license. If you're going to suspend him for 30 days, he pulled an old USWA, old Memphis wrestling trick. Well, you suspended me, but look at here. I haven't have a manager's license. So very, very much enjoyed the promo there. What do you guys think, man?
I'll let you take this one first, Mav.
All right, so while watching it, I did enjoy the fact that he was being a little bit more aggressive during this, but like you said, actually, one of the first things that came up when I saw his ring attire was the Village People. I wasn't sure why, but maybe it's the vest look or something. I don't know, but that came to mind for me as well. And then something else that I noticed during this and I started thinking about was he lost during his title shot, so he stole the guest referee's belt, and now he still has it this week. Couldn't have CM Punk's belt, so he stole Ricky Steamboat's belt. What is this?
I love it. I love it. They have the same initials, RS. I love it. The way Punk could have broke this one up is if he just would have played like if he just would have heard like in the Navy or like young man, I was once in your shoes. I said young man. It just writes itself. But the Village People attire, I mean that's on purpose. That's design on purpose to get under our skin because everybody wants to cheer him. So you have to add a little bit more. His multi-dimensional character is great. I love how they're adding more layers to this onion right now. This is beautiful. Ricky Starks is the pretty boy. He's the show-off, but he's also an angry human being, and he's playing that role. He's doing almost a premature evolution of, say, a Kurt Angle. So I have no complaints with this promo. I loved it. Like you said, an old USWA Continental homage there. I'm now a manager. And of course, we all know who he's going to manage because it writes itself. And it has to be Joe. It has to be Joe. Because there's nobody else that really wants to go after Punk as much as Starks. And honestly, I would favor a Joe Starks union. A short-lived union, just as a favor for one of each other or one another to further a storyline of building an alliance against CM Punk. The things I also noticed on this, and you guys can cut me off, besides the fact that it was an incredibly strong promo, was, of course, he had to talk about Shivani's dumbass face. It wouldn't be Collision without a little Shivani abuse. Can I get an amen, my brothers?
Amen.
Now, I also love the fact that he said he was starting a war and he was going to bring people to settle this war and he was going to ignite this war. And did you also notice that he mentioned Dynamite when he was talking about it? So he didn't mention Rampage. He only mentioned Dynamite, which tells me that somebody who's perennially on Dynamite is either going to show up as somebody he manages on Collision, or, and the flip side of the coin is, he's going to show up on Dynamite to cause some chaos with somebody from Collision as the person he's managing. That's kind of what I got out of it, but you guys tell me what you kind of like felt, or am I just reading too much?
So something that, as you said that, I just started thinking, what if he went with the more reality side and tried to manage more Kenny Omega or the Bucks instead?
Ooh, that's hot. That's hot.
Omega doesn't need a mouthpiece, so that's that would, yeah, that I kind of, you kind of blew or threw me off with the Samoa Joe. I kind of like that. I didn't even think about it, and the initials being the same on the belt. Oh, that's classic. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking memorabilia.
Yeah, would you put a positive feather in the cap of Tony Khan and the whole booking committee if? Usually when something like this happens, folks, it means that Starks would be injured. But if he is not injured at all, and this is just for a storyline, then this is actually creative writing at its finest, because you're taking somebody who everybody wants to see as a wrestler and putting him into a different different bubble. You're going to make him a manager. You're still going to have him on TV. Is this going to make us glom onto him more because we can't see him wrestle, but we can only see his presence? I mean, if it's nursing an injury, it makes sense. But if he's not, then this is actually really brilliant story writing, because this is going to be that little splinter that gets under your fingernail that causes and turns into a major infection, where either you got to save the finger or you got to lop the thing off. That's kind of what I'm seeing with this. This could be really brilliant by design. And so I've never heard in anything across the internet, I haven't heard anything across the internet about Starks being injured. So if you guys know something, please enlighten me. If not, this could be really, really brilliant story writing.
What you talking about, Willis? Yeah, I kind of like that. Mav, unless you got anything, we'll jump on.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on. I think we hit everything on that one.
All right, so we do a promo with the Young Bucks and FTR and give a history lesson. Okay, I guess we all know that one. But here was a little surprise. I guess I did not know or have never seen the dreaded tag team, the Iron Savages.
Oh God, jeez.
And they were going against Acclaimed. So originally on my notes, I did not put Iron Savage. I had to go back and put it on there, because you know what I wrote. Jabroni.
Heavy Machinery. I was going to say Heavy Machinery Part 2.
I just wrote Jabroni 1 and Jabroni 2.
Okay.
I have to give him a credit. The big guy with the beard, I think I literally wrote big guy beard. Boulder was his name. I have to give him credit. a couple good moves and everything, but this was the weirdest squash I've ever seen. It was, I mean, it literally like it should have been a squash, but I guess they wanted to make sure that the guys from, I guess since they're on ROH, they wanted to make sure they didn't look too bad. But Matt, what did you think of this one, buddy?
All right, so the match was all right. I don't think it was anything that absolutely, blew my socks off or anything, but it was just all right. A couple of things that I noticed during it was during the Acclaim's entrance, they made up, when they're doing their rapping and everything, he pulled out a little bit of comments about Lizzo and how the Iron Savages were about the size of, I think, her. And if listeners don't know, look up all the controversy that's going on with her. I just kind of find it funny when they bring in some pop culture stuff that's going on. Also bringing out Billy Gunn's boots. I kind of like that touch that they're still giving a little bit of the, how do I put this, just a last goodbye type of thing before they just, stop talking about him eventually. Something else I noticed, I think his name was Boulder. I'm not sure if you guys were able to see this because I think they said it was during picture-in-picture, but he did kind of a Nasty Boys move. He put somebody's head in his armpit for a second. I can't really remember who it was.
See that? I did not see that.
But yeah, I think that was during picture-in-picture, so it was probably commercial for you guys. But yeah, seeing that for a split second, it's like, all right, I kind of like this quick little tribute. And yeah, the match was just all right. I didn't really catch anything big from it. I kind of like the afterwards a little bit more with the scissor tribute, as I wrote it as, because I don't know what to put for some of the things the Acclaim does and makes up. It's just kind of goofy. I don't know what else to say about them. Gardner, you got anything to say for these guys?
Well, mark my words. There's a few things I took away from this match. One, Mr. Boulder is very proud of his nipples.
Yeah.
If you didn't notice how much he showed off his nipples and licked his lips at the same time, I was trying to have a burrito. The burrito was ruined. Like, thank you, Boulder. You ruined a beautiful burrito. I don't know what was up with that. Now, obviously, I pegged them as Heavy Machinery Part 2. I've never seen – okay, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. You should probably imitate something that was successful, not Heavy Machinery. Now, these guys could have all the potential in the world. I don't know anything about them because they're Ring of Honor, and you have to have your own separate streaming service for them. So I guess that's why they bring so much Ring of Honor talent in on Collision to balance out the roster size, let alone to actually get some of the people from Ring of Honor a bit of a mainstream exposure as opposed to just the streaming. That way, when eventually they're shuffled around and they're on a show, such as Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, you have a little bit more notoriety besides your mainstays that already have lots of mainstream notoriety, such as Samoa Joe. Okay, with that being said, I knew nothing about their moveset, so I had no idea what the point of that shoulder walk thing was when he got onto his shoulders and just started walking. Okay, it's like making like an artistic statement, like, look at me, I'm dumb. You're just setting yourself up to be just taken down. And shortly after this beautiful moment happens, they pan to the audience where, you know how I am about sign reading. Somebody had a nice big white sign with big, bold black letters that said, toilet truck, toilet truck. And I just want you to know that I have no idea what that means, but I know probably this time tomorrow I'll still be thinking about what could that possibly have dictated in the lives of this match, and who are they really shouting out to? So toilet truck, if you're a person out there who is getting your comeuppance and a kind of a secret nod from fans at Collision, and you're at home in Sofa Tooth, Nebraska, here's to you, toilet truck. The natural amount of progression that's going to happen with the Acclaim, and I don't know if you guys see this or not, but you should. They're going to go and find their next coach, and they're going to go from scissoring to spooning. You heard it here first. They're going to spoon. They're going to spoon.
Now, one thing I did want to add. Did y'all notice that when they get in the ring, Acclaim gets in the ring, and they, right about the time the guy goes, scissor me, and they had that little sad moment because they're the scissor. Yeah, it was really sad. But here's my prediction on that one. the Gun Club ends up turning on the Bullet Club on down the road. Out of the blue, Acclaim fights Gun Club. Out of the blue, Billy Gunn comes back and manages his sons. So that's just my little thing. Depending on how good their T-shirt sales go.
Could you see the Guns just look at him? They say, "Spoon me, daddy," and they just get a big hug, and then you go from scissoring to spooning, and it's all still that dirty connotation.
I don't know. I was gonna go with another way around that. I was thinking maybe Tony Schiavone still becomes granddaddy ass, and it becomes spoon me granddaddy ass, and it's gonna get even weirder.
We've gone down the rabbit hole officially.
Yeah, I resemble that remark. I don't appreciate it. All right, okay. We have the Bullet Club Gold. They do a good little promo, good little spot. What'd you guys think of them coming out? And they gave the Tony Schiavone abuse probably the best.
I loved it. My first note is Juice Robinson is making sure Schiavone takes his weekly abuse. And, of course, just being goofy in the promo. But remember what I said last week, and that my prediction is coming true, that it's going to be Bullet Club versus the Elite. I didn't really think, it's kind of like the stuff we were bouncing around when we were doing Collision last week, and it's coming to fruition. He's calling out the Bucks, calling out Omega, calling out Hangman. This is a perfect 4-on-4, so I don't see the Guns leaving Bullet Club anytime soon. I really think that this is going to be a major 4-on-4 collision, pardon the pun, and I think it's going to be a really fun watch, to be honest with you, as long as we can keep the action inside the ring as much as possible. And if there's going to be brawling outside the ring, that's got to be just leave it to Juice. Let him do everything outside the ring. I don't care if he's beating up a chair that can't defend itself. Just let him do it, because we will make it the most entertaining beating of an inanimate object that we've ever seen in our lives, and he'll probably cut a promo on that chair too. And you know what? I'll rewind it and watch it twice.
All right. Maya?
All right, so yeah, I started to catch that they're starting heat with the Elite, and I'm really enjoying just seeing that they're trying to go to the next level of where we're going to go with the story, who can we go after next, instead of continuously going after FTR and CM Punk. I feel like that ship has kind of sailed at this point, so it does make sense. Now they can go after former Bullet Club versus new/current Bullet Club, I guess I could say. I think it's going to be a great feud when it finally happens, and I'm really excited to see it. Do you think that they could maybe create some sort of new T-shirt lines or something out of this, like a former Bullet Club and a current Bullet Club or something, or is it going to be just Elite versus Bullet Club now? I'm really interested to see where this goes, honestly.
You could have all kinds of slogans, call it, like the Battleground or something like. Well, obviously that's a WWE, I think, trademarked former Beeline pay-per-view, but you could call it In the Trenches, an homage to World War One. There's so many things that you could call it, and it'll sell T-shirts, but it can't just be a one-off. Or with 4-on-4, that's where you go into a War Games. Of course, you can't call it that, so they'd have to call it like the Match Beyond, like they did before, or something like that, or a new kind of match. I just don't want it to be like that last gimmicky Total Weapons match that was just a cluster to watch and very, very, too much blood, too many weapons. I don't want that kind of thing. If it's going to be a crescendo match, it's got to be about a half hour, and it's got to be great, and it's got to be contained. But yes, I mean, you could market T-shirts, and you could do all kinds of things with it. They called it the Bullet Club Civil War a long time ago when they were teasing Cody and Adam Cole both trying to take over the reins from Kenny Omega. Then they had, I believe, the Bullet Club. I think they called it the Slow Burn, when that was the Elite eventually splitting off. So this could be still, it's part of the Slow Burn, because the payoff to the Slow Burn was Jay White taking over and Kenny and the Bucks and Paige hightailing it out to get with Tony Khan and eventually do AEW. So yeah, there's a lot that you could add on to this. You could sell T-shirts, posters, merch, koozies, your second born child with a tattoo of it. I think there's a lot of potential with this one. Honestly, I mean, all my money is going to be on the Gold and the Gun Club, to be honest with you. So, Mav, I got a question for you though, bud, because I know Mark is kind of, basically he stated how he felt about this. Why don't you tell me what you thought about the next match with, the Cars?
All right, so I'm going to be straightforward about it. I just didn't really like this match. I wasn't feeling it from the beginning. I don't know what it is about every time I see Mercedes Martinez in the ring, she has to be one of the slowest performers I've seen, and I just don't like watching her. I don't know what it is. While I was watching, one thing that I noticed was when she picked up Diamante and threw her outside the ring as if she was a weapon to throw at Chris Statlander and Willow. I honestly didn't like the way it looked. I thought it looked kind of sloppy because she almost missed. And I don't know, just these two playing as heels, it doesn't work for me that well. It feels like they're trying too hard, and I'm just not very happy with it. And especially the first half of this match, it felt like, and Michael, you're going to understand what I mean by this. It felt like Miz style wrestling the whole time in the beginning. I really am just not impressed with this match. What did you think?
Well, I'm going to go with the Tito Santana rule. Tito Santana rule was created by my brother and Maverick's uncle. His name's Tim. And if Tito Santana could do it more crisp, and if he could ignite the crowd by signaling for his finisher and work the crowd better than anybody who does it today, then you're below an intercontinental level, which would put you in the curtain jerker kind of category, not jabroni or not enhancement talent, jobber, whatever you want to call it. It just means you're lower level. You're opening the show. You are not going to win against what a true mid card, or definitely not against a upper tier and main eventer. So there was one wrestler in this match, and that's Chris Statlander, and she's compared to Britt Baker, Jade Cargill, or others, she's not exactly the best. I mean, she's decent enough to hold on to the title because their women's scene is definitely not WWE's or New Japan's, but it does have flashes of brilliance. Now, in case people are wondering why I call them cars, because a Diamante was a Mitsubishi and a Mercedes is a Mercedes. Did they do this by design, or was this just by accident? And then you also have to, that's a good call, Mark. Go ahead and just voice your opinion. They're the cars. And I go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
That's a good band, man. Come on now. Now, please interrupt you. I was thinking more of a Delmonico steak, or but anyway, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Did anybody notice Diamante's little colorful? Sorry about the stuttering, folks. Colorful word to Willow as she threw her out of the ring.
Oh yeah.
And everybody at home heard her drop an F-bomb, and Nigel just retorts with awfully strong words. Yeah, I think we all know those were some strong words. So somebody's paying a fine tonight to Tony. But yeah, this was a bathroom match. It really was. Willow relies too much on cannonballs and sentons. Which the senton is like the 80s arm drag of this generation. Would anybody agree with me on that? If you're hefty, you do a senton.
Yeah, and it's hefty. I gotta agree. And man, Michael, the only thing I can really wrote on this that I was appalled by was that Willow got her arms put between her legs to hold on to her ankles while somebody bent her over and then stomped her. That was the worst move I've ever seen.
Slow motion.
Yeah, it's Now that's the only thing I can say. I just don't even want to add. Please, Michael, take it away so I don't say another word.
I just feel like the cars are very green. I mean, Mercedes is the anchor of the two, and that's not much of an anchor. And trust me, folks, I'm not making fun of the girl because she does have potential, but she's just not polished yet. She's very rough around the edges. Statlander is less rough around the edges, can put on a decent match, but it all comes down to your dance partner. She didn't have a great dance partner, and honestly, I don't think Willow is a great tag partner for her. So this thing, it's not a recipe for disaster, but it was just doomed before they even rang a bell. And the only thing I kind of liked was the way that Diamante used her legs to keep the pin in place for Mercedes. That was a little bit different from anything I've seen in a while. Usually it's, grabbing someone's arm and pulling them in the opposite direction or something like that. It was a little different, a little bit more creative, so I could deal with it. But this match was definitely a bathroom break. Go get a fresh sandwich. Well, obviously my burrito was ruined. Thank you. So that's kind of what it was for me. And yeah, it didn't impress.
Well, I'm sure you were impressed afterwards. Well, I got to say, Toni Storm is good on the stick. She is good. Now, she's playing this depressed housewife-looking Marilyn Monroe kind of looking young lady. And she's asked to probably pull this off, and I think she's probably doing exactly what she's asked, if that makes any sense. I mean, Mav, what did you think of that?
All right, so I think that this week they saved Tony Schiavone from getting abused by Toni Storm once again. But yeah, it's interesting to see Toni Storm going through this. She even said at one point that she's depressed and everything. It's interesting to see that character from her. I've seen her as a heel. I've seen her as a face. What is this character currently? She's just kind of rude and depressed about everything. It's different. I'll give it that. But yeah, I'm interested to see the women's four-way match. I'm just not sure where her character is going to go from here. Besides, I expect her and Saraya to go their separate ways after the four-way. I expect some sort of screw job or something to go on because of their friendship at the moment. But I do think it's going to end ultimately in that match. Michael, what do you think?
I couldn't agree more as far as the limited timeline that they've put the life expectancy of their friendship on. I definitely love Toni Storm's Marilyn Monroe meets Gwen Stefani character. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
The look of Marilyn Monroe, but some of the facials and some of the if you watch classic videos like Don't Speak or I'm Just a Girl, you will see a lot of mimicking of Gwen Stefani. And I love the fact that, you know, she tells, I don't even know the interviewer's name, by the way, besides Toots. So that she told Toots to shut up. I guess that's going to become her new catchphrase. I like it that she said that because it shows her frustration, but I do not want that to be her catchphrase, just to say shut up, because it's kind of weak and kind of 80s and kind of something you expect on WWE at this point on their platform. So Toni Storm's evolving. It's a depressive character. Let's see where it goes. I do like, you know, like I said, Marilyn Monroe meets Gwen Stefani. I'm kind of having fun with it. And honestly, with her level of talent on the in-ring, I think that four-way, especially with Saraya, if Saraya's healthy and not, you know, kind of nursing anything, or if she isn't governed or limited by perhaps a concussive, you know, the potential of being in a concussive state or the potential of re-injuring her body, then the two of those are really going to shine, because it's going to come down to the two of them fighting each other. And that's where our implosion of our so-called friendship is going to ignite for the first time.
Right. So one thing I just wanted to add in real quick. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. So Toni Storm and Saraya, this match is going to ultimately separate it. I have a feeling that Saraya is going to win the title in this upcoming match. I don't really feel like Hikaru Shida is, you know, bad or anything, but I don't think they're going to keep it on her. I think they're going to put the title on Saraya so that they can have this feud with Toni Storm in the future and just keep it going, so that then it's going to be a little bit more intense. So that was my title, you were my friend type of thing, you know?
I like that. And nobody said anything about, I thought her new catchphrase was going to be to throw a shoe.
Come on.
With Jabroni interviewer.
Toots.
Anyway, good point.
To all females out there, I am not being a misogynist. I don't know her name. They just referred to her as Toots. And then when they went back, I think it was Nigel, not Ian Riccaboni. He's too professional. I think it was Nigel's like, oh, she just yelled at Toots. Like, okay, yeah. Can we get a name? Yeah. Just a little infographic with a name. I'd be happy. Maybe I just didn't catch it.
Yeah, it's wrestling.
So one thing I also want to see from this, if they're going to continue with shut up being Tony's catchphrase, I don't want her to be more like Vicky Guerrero with it and just have that be the only thing she says as soon as she gets in the ring. I really don't want for that to be a thing. Don't be the annoying character.
Right.
Yeah, it festers quite a bit.
Okay, from this, we go to a classic match for Samoa Joe and his ROH TV championship. And he has a what did they announce? The 7'4". I mean, Andre Everett. Yeah. Okay. Somebody take this because yeah, I
All
loved it.
right, I'll take it. So when I labeled this match, I didn't even write down in my notes whatever this Andre guy's name was. I just wrote it down as Joe Squash because that's what we all knew what was coming. And then I wrote down as my first note, can I face Joe next? Can I get some TV time? They're just kind of seems like they're just throwing anybody in the ring at this point. Can I go? I'll take the pin real quick. It's no problem. Uh, and I'll give this Andre or Andrew guy this. He was flippy and it was interesting to see for a couple of minutes, but
You
it
said
ultimately ended how we expected.
This first of all, they announced him as 7'4". Andrew, I think it was Andrew Everett, and I in my notes this wasn't even a squash match. This was a zucchini match, okay? Because before he goes to lock up with Joe, if you didn't notice it, look back. He kind of puts his arms out and does like a little mini bow and shakes his arms like, yeah, I'm going to lose. Like he kind of just acknowledged it like he broke a fourth wall like, yep, you're going to get what you deserve here, folks. Like he did that. And then he just goes in the lockup and proceeded to, basically have his femur pulled out of his throat. So we got what we wanted. It was all about the promo afterwards. It's all about what it's setting up, which is the foreshadowing, which is also part of what I was talking about on last week's Collision, is the fact that it's very much prominent that we know that Joe was going to interfere at the end, but how was he going to interfere? And so I enjoy this version of Joe. I love what he's doing. Of course, as another great wrestling podcaster from Louisville says, Frankenstein had to kill a few villagers before he got taken down. So eventually, whoever takes out Samoa Joe, he's going to have this lineage behind him of destroying people. We just have to have, as Maverick said, some people with a little bit more credibility to him. I mean, what was it last week? Metalik, a little bit of credibility. He used to wrestle WWE. He was, I think, the finals, the Cruiserweight class. It's okay, but it was never a guy who put asses in seats as far as WWE went. It was just somewhat of a recognizable name who, had a couple of flashy moments, but at least it was a name. No one's going to remember Andrew Everett except for he was probably 4'7" and not 7'4". At least he wrestled that way. And I don't even know what the purpose of that was. I think just to make us giggle. I don't even have a clue. So you might as well just stamp USDA on his head because you could stick a fork in him. He was done really quick.
Yeah, I think that's all they did was to set up that interview.
Yes.
But I do love it when Joe does the old school. He's the king of TV.
I love it.
And he called CM Punk a coward, and he called him a real B word. So and the intense look he said, or when he said, he gave him the courtesy of asking for the match. Now that's some old school stuff there.
Oh yes.
And he's going to convince you. He said he was going to convince him. And I think he might have done that, guys. I think he might have done that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, I mean, even at this point during the show, I had wrote down in my notes, just prediction, Joe will interfere with CMFTR. We all knew it was coming, but yeah, he absolutely did convince him at the end, but we'll talk about that a little later.
I will say that Samoa Joe, real quick before you get back to it, Mark, is reminding me a lot of a Paul Jones-led Raging Bull Manny Fernandez.
You're going way back there, are you?
Yeah, I'm going 86 on you, turning on Jimmy Valiant. The intensity, he could cut his own promo. Of course, Manny Fernandez was a little bit choppier with the promos back then. However, the intensity and the anger, you didn't mess with him. He had this. What people don't know about Manny Fernandez, going way back with our flashbacks that Mark and I like to do, is the fact that he had this reputation of being this Mexican badass, almost bare knuckle kind of brawler was his gimmick, but he was great in the ring. He was really solid in the ring.
Yeah.
And so his gimmick sold him really well. And while his promos weren't great, having Paul Jones and showing the evil side of him when he turned his back is what this is. The intensity is what reminds me of Samoa Joe. The methodic intensity. Explode when you need to, but then when you need to cut the promo, you stare a hole through that camera. You stare a hole through that camera and use body language to sell exactly what you're doing. Now, what were you going to say, Mark, because I cut you off?
No, it's okay. You blew me away with that. Methodic intensity. I like that. That's a T-shirt in itself. So good, good one, guys. And then we got one more promo that leads into a match, and you know, dare I say, almost jabroni-ish. But Christian Cage, I love him coming out. He's. I know Mav has been talking about how much he really likes him, and to tell you the truth, man, he's really impressing me. He makes me want to poke him in his eye, and so that's good. But the biggest family reunion in Greensboro, I thought was fantastic. So I can see what they're doing with this, and I love it. But we'll get into the feeding match afterwards. But what did you think about Mav, we'll start off with you, man. What did you think about the original promo that they were going to cut?
Man, I just enjoy seeing Christian Cage come out and say whatever he wants. And you can tell that after being a face for so long in WWE and being kind of that guy who can do no wrong, this is nice to finally see that he's probably been thinking about all these things that he could say. He's probably been taking notes for years about like, oh yeah, if I was in a really redneck town, I could say X, Y, and Z, whatever else. And now he's finally getting to let loose and just say all these things. That's getting him pretty good amount of heat. You could hear the arena was booing him a little bit. And I'm glad that they are. He's doing his job at this point. I also put in quotes in my notes because something that sticks out that he had said was we. He had that pause for a second, talking about his title, his championship. It's still Luchasaurus's title at the end of the day. But this gimmick is entertaining for sure, and I'm kind of happy it's still going on for now, but I don't want it to last forever. I want to see Luchasaurus eventually break away. And I was kind of hoping that maybe Luchasaurus's hometown or something was there or something, so that tonight I could see him just snap and go off on a Christian, and that would have been kind of an interesting idea, I would have thought. But seeing Arn Anderson step out, that's not something I really expected to see. And having everything go on, mentioning the Horsemen and whatnot. Michael, what did you think?
I loved it. I had noticed before, excuse me, I had to clear my throat there. I had noticed a long time ago that Arn had mentioned in his podcasts that the biggest draw for the Jim Crockett Promotions NWA, or the NWA led pioneer by Jim Crockett Promotions when it was the head of the NWA, that their biggest draw, the city of cities for the NWA, was Greensboro, the Greensboro Coliseum. They could always sell it out. If you couldn't do something in Greensboro, you were doing something wrong. And if you drew only half a house, you knew it was going to be a bad year for business. And so it's a wrestling steeped historical city, and everybody is there for wrestling. They love wrestling. They love classic wrestling. My age to Mark's age is definitely NWA fans. Having Arn Anderson out was a no-brainer to pop that crowd for the newer generation as well as the older generation. Of course, it introduced us to, when's the last time you guys seen Brock Anderson? I can't remember ever seeing him on TV. Definitely looks like a young, rather well-fed version of Arn. Rather portly, not exactly as muscular as Arn is, say, now. But he's going to have potential. When your father's Arn Anderson, you can only go up. But also remember that there was David Flair. Oh, too soon? So you can't always be a chip off the block. However, I think he will be. I think he just needs to go hit the weights. And I think this could be an introductory thing where he comes in, kind of gets his ass handed to him, disappears for a while, hones his craft more, and gets in better ring shape, just to come back and avenge his father, say 6-7 months from now. This is one of those things where it could be a beautiful storyline that we don't have to see. It's like Christian said last time I saw you, I left you in a pool of blood months ago. So this chapter doesn't have to involve the title, doesn't have to involve Arn Anderson. It will inadvertently within months. It could be 6 months from now. All of a sudden Brock comes out. Now he's in great shape. And now he's had time to hone his skills on either dark, which no one watches, or in dark matches, which no one sees, or just working with your Dean Malenko's, your Tully Blanchard's, his father, working with all those legends, Jerry Lynn, and, absorbing everything and working with people like FTR. So he hones his skills more. So when he comes back to avenge his father in due time, it's he and Christian. And now Christian has nothing to do better than to put him over and create a new star in him, as long as his skills and everything else are up to par. So I think we are actually planting a seed from the gardener that's going to be watered, and we're actually going to see the fruit of our labor months from now. That's what I would do with this. That is the perfect thing to do with this. Take them both off. Just let this kid hone his skills and come back in due time, and you've already got a storyline put in, and it just writes itself, and it's beautiful. So that's where I'm going with that.
Oh man, and you might as well get you a bag of 20s from the store on discount, because that's about I love the ideas you had, but I have to say that the fact that Brock Anderson hasn't got himself into shape and isn't coming out trying to carry on a legacy when you've got Cody Rhodes over there with his father being not the most a majestic person as far as his body and his workout things. You look at Cody, he's modern day. He's chiseled. He's doing everything. Brock needs to stay away from the Swanson TV dinners. But I did look up the fact, though, as of Google, as of earlier today, they have no recollection of a skateboard putting up a dinosaur's ass.
Thank God.
Yeah, I did check that, guys, and I even called Maverick and asked him about it, other search engines, and he hung up on me. But anyway, we go from there. We got a quick little promo with Tony Schiavone, and he's got freaking Hobbs out there, and Hobbs has got a book that he wants Miro to read. So, Maverick, what did you think about the book show that Hobbs put up, or QTV did?
Man, I was kind of hoping that Hobbs would slowly break away from QT Marshall, and part of me was kind of hoping, you know what, maybe he wants to join up with Miro or something for a second, and then seeing, Jabronis 1 and 2, because I didn't really know who those other two guys were, go and attack Miro for a minute. All I was thinking was, man, this could have been more interesting, but I'm sure this will lead somewhere better, because Hobbs is great. I really enjoy seeing him. I don't want to call it a squash, but, just a quick attack and leave sort of thing against Miro. I feel like Miro was kind of being built up at the moment, and now you're kind of throwing that down for a second. Maybe this will start a feud between two of the bigger guys on the roster, and it'll be a little bit more sloppy matches, but hey, it doesn't always have to be perfect. We don't need everything to be 5 stars. So, Michael, what do you think?
I'm rather depressed that Hobbs took they wrote Hobbs into sticking around with QT Marshall and that whole thing. I thought that was over with last week. It makes no sense why we tease him walking away just to have him come back, and it was so unceremonious with it. There was no real payoff. There was no heightened crescendo to it. It was just kind of blasé. There's so many much better ways to have done this. And when he called out Miro, I was kind of curious why. I'm not sure what the storyline is between them, so forgive me, listeners out there. I just don't know. And so, talking about the Redeemer, let's call him out. And I thought, okay, if they stand face to face, all I could think is those 3 Stygian blind witches from the original Clash of Titans, a Titan against a Titan, give me back the eye. Oh, sorry. So that one was for you, Mark. So instead, we get those cheap shots by, QT's extra enhancement level. I don't know who those guys are. I mean, I couldn't recognize them. It was going rather fast. I was waiting actually for Hobbs to lay them out, help up Miro, then if you're going to do something, then beat him down. It's just this thing was kind of water thin. This was kind of rushed. And I think there's a cleaner way to present this, but they presented it in muddy waters, and they also presented it without giving us enough to sink our teeth into. Now I get it, like Hobbs' gimmick, he's the Book of Hobbs. That's like his book of pain and how he inflicts it on people. Hobbs' promos are coming a long way. It's just that there's no coherence to it. It doesn't make sense, and it kind of leaves us befuddled going, what is going on here? I can't buy into this character. This guy's a legit badass. He's amazing, and he has his own story. He teeters on babyface, and then you got to take him right back to the pits of hell, being like a complete and utter heel, and it's doing him no favors to flip flop like that. You know, when you flip flop like that, you might as well turn into the Big Show, and that just without that polarity, the next thing you know, you're either counting ring lights for main eventers, or you get lost in a shuffle where it's like Wardlow. You just get lost in the shuffle when you had so much promise and so much potential at one point. And I want to see that happen to Hobbs. He's just too talented. So the best thing he can do is get through this program as fast as possible and then start. He doesn't even have to go after gold. At his size, he could just be a wrecker. He could go out there, have him squash some enhancements, and kind of do the gimmick of he's putting him out for good. Bring up some promising talent that we're not going to see for another 2 years and make it look like he's ending their career in the ring. Stretcher him out. Every match comes with a stretcher for a little while until somebody like Amiro comes back for redemption, the Redeemer. Now we got a little bit of a storyline, but hey, they don't pay me for this. They should be. We know they should be, but unfortunately they're not paying me for this. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. QT needs to disappear. There's other things that he could be doing. I honestly think that his skills are more validated behind the scenes trying to develop talent instead of whatever he's doing now, because he's not helping ratings. He's not putting viewers on anything. I've never seen anybody with a QT Marshall shirt or anybody from his monster faction. So just let's get him off TV and concentrate on his skills behind the scenes, where I think that he's more of an asset. Mark, do you have anything to add or put an exclamation point on that situation?
I just want to say that I think maybe they're actually telling a story. Maybe they're telling a story, and it's been so long since somebody has told one that we have forgotten somewhat. But that is for another day. But guys, wasn't it good to see Jim Ross come out to the ring? And I thought he looked great.
Better.
I mean, what do you guys?
Healthier, better. He's an older man. He's survived Bell's palsy and quite a few health scares. And of course, let's not forget, even though it's been quite a few years, I think it's been 4 or 5 since Jan died, his wife, and that was a horrific thing. That wasn't, a slow, we saw it coming. Wasn't it a car accident, Mark? She got ran over on a bicycle, I think.
Yeah. It was, yes. The man has gone through enough to make somebody give up, and that just shows the fortitude and the drive in this gentleman. But he was, I'm going to say, I'm not sure, don't quote me on the exact time, I'm going to say 3 or 4 months ago, he was having mobility problems, maybe a little bit longer ago. But he was having big mobility problems and everything. And to see him walk down there as a person that deals with a health problem, it made me feel really good. And how'd that look across the pond, Maverick?
It's nice to see him still being able to get around, recovering and whatnot. That's kind of a voice of childhood that I remember hearing so often, just, my God, all the time. So, every time I get to hear that still, it's kind of a nice little nostalgic moment for me still. So even tonight, he may not have said that specifically, but still hearing that voice is always a nice little reminder, and it's still nice seeing him around.
I like that, Mav. I like that because in mine and Michael's days, we grew up with, I think, 2 of the best, and that would have been Lance Russell and Gordon Solie. I'm sorry, but those 2 guys were the voice of wrestling to me, at least coming up. I love seeing the old hero come back, but we did have one heck of a match in front of us, and that is the House of Black in full force with Julia Hart going against FTR and CM Punk. And even the start of it, I liked the House of Black just standing there with that stare. They just always in character. I like that now. Man, look, either one of you want to take this first, because all of us, I'm sure, have got some good stuff to say about this match.
Well, you want to go first, Mav, or I could take it?
Michael, why don't you take it on this one then?
Okay, I want to apologize first to all of our listeners last week because I kept referring to Brody King as Brody Lee. Rookie mistake on my part. Just when you get going and talk fast like I do because of my stuttering, I tend to say the wrong things sometimes. So some interesting observations. Last week I compared them, the House of Black, one by one to the Freebirds, and I don't know if anybody noticed that Nigel McGuinness and Ian Riccaboni and JR did the exact same thing in the exact same way I did it. It's kind of funny. The foreshadowing is there that Buddy Matthews will not be a long-lasting member. Once again, we have King and Black coming out in corpse paint, which is it's a throwback to Norwegian black metal. We have the standard corpse paint on Brody King, and Malachi Black's looks like the same kind of makeup that musician Tim Skold, who's from Sweden, would wear when he was doing a lot of production for Marilyn Manson, joined KMFDM. I know a lot about this guy. He's a really great musician. And, of course, their music mimics black metal and the whole movement over there. But things to observe. 2 men wore makeup. 2 men wore masks. Buddy Matthews did neither. Once again this week. Okay? Out of all 6 competitors in the ring, 3 of them were slathered with tattoos. 3 were not. No tattoos on FTR and no tattoos on Buddy Matthews. Interesting. It's very interesting when you watch, because you think by look, if you were a brand new viewer and you were watching on TV, you would think that Punk was part of House of Black and that Buddy Matthews was actually part – yeah, you would think that he was part of the FTR faction. It's funny. The pairing up and the wrestling was great. The building, I mean, of course, they compared King to Terry Bam Bam Gordy, which he's like, they're going the giant route because there's not a whole lot of giants and legit, over 6'5" guys in AEW, which King is. And so don't leave your feet kind of thing, unfortunately, King is a lot more talented than what they were giving him as far as don't leave your feet, which kind of made him look a little bit sloppy with the shoulder, the shoulder breaker, not shoulder breakers, but the, just slamming into each other, the clotheslines, everything, and the staggering and trying not to fall down, because that's not a strong suit. The guy can actually sell really well. So you could tell he's physically trying to give the producers backstage what they want, but he wasn't comfortable doing it, is what the observation I got. So it was great though. And just building him like a monster. They keep referring to it. Oh, he hasn't left his feet yet. JR, first thing out of his mouth is, he's going to be the X factor. He's going to be the person that you have to keep your eyes on. If he can get going, if he can build his momentum, they forced in this match Brody King down our throat a lot. And I think maybe they see him as a breakout, or they really want to rehabilitate how he was kind of used in just a lower mid-card part of a trio, as opposed to the fact that he might be a legitimate monster. And looking at his size down the road, yeah, you could build him into his own single star as a monster. I must say that I loved Buddy Matthews' Hangman's double underhook DDT, which was sold beautifully. I mean, he held him, dropped him, and then was it Dax, I think, who took it, just laid there, like just almost
double? The double, is that what you're referring to, Michael?
Yeah, the double underhook DDT they did, but it was Hangman style. He had the legs like across the ropes when he did. Beautiful. That was poetry in motion. The only thing that really surprised me about this match, they were telling a story for sure in the ring, but the pace was just a couple clicks off from where I expected it to be. I did like the taunts, the CM Punk sitting down against Malachi Black, the looks on each other's faces, then the teams gathering up, the all-out brawls, continuing the brawls through picture-in-picture. There was also a really wicked Tide commercial that was happening, by the way, which reminded me I have to get some laundry detergent. So, thank you, House of Black and CMFTR, for that, guys. I like unscented Tide, by the way. And all in all, it was a good match, about 2 or 3 steps slower than what I would have anticipated. Of course, I saw the finish coming last week, which we kind of hinted on, but it's okay because we all kind of knew. While we all knew it was going to happen, it's what we got in the meantime, what happened in the ring in the meantime, to make it worthwhile and saying, hey, we got to watch this. The only other thing that I got to say is interesting is last week we had Julia Hart in a no one cares match against, what was it, Top Flight and the guy from Star Trek, being banned. And then this week against Main Event Player, she's allowed to be there. Consistency in booking, Tony Khan. You can call me anytime. My number's 901, never mind. And so that you would have an X Factor banned from a marquee matchup, not from, Top Flight and, what was it, Wes Johnson or something like that. So all in all, this match, if you had the pacing the way it should have been, it would have been a B, but this was a C+ match. And if it wasn't as predictable at the end, it would have been a B. Between pacing, predictability, the match was a C+. And honestly, this is a match that could have used a high spot or two. Not a lot, just 1 or 2 more high spots, just to kind of say it was a main event. I don't want a ton of high spots. I don't want a spot fest, but just 1 or 2 thrown in there could have boosted this match up to an A-. So that's how I was on the main event.
Oh, Maverick?
All right, so, I noticed that immediately as well, that Buddy Matthews didn't have the face paint as well. And also something I noticed, I don't even think the match had started yet, but the ring announcers, commentators, my apologies, they had said Buddy Murphy again as well. And I get it. It's a very close name. It's, the former name and everything, but we got to get that down. It's kind of weird to keep referring to him from the other company's name. It's not really looking good. And once again, Rocky T and I have talked about this, that they should have just changed his name. But now, seeing as he doesn't ever get the face paint or the mask or anything, it does make sense about what you're saying, Michael, about that he would be the one to leave this group or have something else happen. He's the oddball right now. Not sure how else to put it, but he is the one that doesn't seem to get the same treatment that the other two are doing. I don't know if maybe he's just not into the hokey stuff that he sees, or maybe that's how he sees it, but it's just kind of lying right there in front of us. Something I really didn't like about the match, and this is something I just don't like seeing when you have a 6-man, 8-man tag match. I hate seeing when every person hits a finisher on somebody, they turn around and then another person hits their finisher on them. I really hate just seeing that chain of finisher, everybody hitting their signature moves. I don't need to see that. I don't need to be reminded what everybody's signatures and finishers are. Just give me a good match. And this one, it was, I would say, above average slightly, but it just was a couple of paces off. FTR, I just expect kind of greatness at this point, and I hate that I'm kind of spoiled by them so much because I just expect so much more, because they are my favorite tag team right now. They are, I believe, the best in the world. And then seeing a match like this, there are some good moments, like seeing CM Punk and Malachi Black just sitting down, legs crossed, staring at each other for a second. I've never seen fans go nuts watching 2 guys sit in the ring and stare at each other like that. But, that's wrestling for you. The drama played up as it needed to, and it is going well. But, yeah, the match overall, I agree, it's C+, maybe solid C work right now. Mark, what did you think?
Oh, okay. All right. Now, first of all, I want everyone in the listening audience to understand that we are all, we watch this separately, and we all have our own notes. And so generally, the third person is kind of like in baseball, batting cleanup, and so these are my notes that I can continue to talk about that my great co-host have left me. Let me see. CM Punk and Buddy at the start. I liked it. The crowd really loved it when Punk and Aleister Black got in there. All right, so y'all talked about the sit down, and you talked about the no paint, and and here's one. When Brody does goes for the double suplex, almost messes up, turns it into a DDT. I like the way the announcers covered that up. Okay, y'all talked about that, and y'all talked about that, and okay, well, that was, folks. Joe chokes out CM Punk, and the House of Black wins. All right, so first of all, if you ever get your own shows, get some dumb people to co-host with you. First of all, because having a young guy that's over here that knows it makes it rough. Anyway, guys. Other than that, guys, I think we're at the end of the show now that I had 3 pages.
Well, I guess it might be time for sign-offs and letting people know how to reach us. I could go first on this if you folks don't mind.
No, please. Yeah, I have 3 pages I need to move. Go, Blue. No, go.
Okay, at 144 Captain on Twitter, Michael Gross, the gardener. Please reach out to me, as we know that at the end of this month, we are going to have our next episode with Justin Incredible. Myself, Rocky T, and Mark are going to be moderating that show, and it's going to be hosted by all of you with your questions. It's going to be Ask Justin Incredible. It's all wrestling-based questions, and so it's filling up fast, folks. So if you want your name credited for your question, you can reach out to me or you can reach out to Mark and he will give you his handle. You can reach out to Rocky T. You can find all of us on each other's Twitters. We also have quite a few episodes of Wrestle Magic coming up, some episodes that are co-hosted by Maverick, and we're going to have King Scully on the show also, as well as Memphis Mark, because it's quite a big family. Wrestle Magic is a big family. Of course, Collision's going to keep going on, but that's more of the brainchild of Maverick and Mark and myself and Rocky. It's not exactly Wrestle Magic, but it is what we do to help all of you, to entertain you and make sure that you folks know what's going on with Collision and give you kind of a fun little cleanup of the show every week. Aside from that, I would look forward to hearing from everybody. And if you have any ideas as far as Wrestle Magic shows, once again, reach out to myself, reach out to Rocky. You can reach out to Maverick as he'll be guesting. You can reach out to Memphis Mark as he'll be guesting, or King Scully as he'll be guesting and joining the family with us. Gentlemen, go ahead and take it away.
Oh, Maverick, please.
All right, so first thing that I'll say is shout out to King Scully. Had a nice conversation with him as we were testing some of his equipment to make sure it would all work for when we did decide to record and everything. And honestly, we talked for about an hour. It felt like 5 minutes. We were just going off, talking about things that we remembered and just enjoying ourselves and having good company. Seems like a really nice guy. You guys should hit him up, try to ask him some questions, because you can pick his brain. He's very intelligent. He remembers a lot of this wrestling stuff, that some things he's bringing back core memories for me, thinking about legacy and whatnot from my childhood. And I'm thinking like, wow, I remember that now that you've brought it up. And yeah, we just went back and forth for a while. So shout out to King Scully. Then just want to say for everybody out there, do something nice for somebody out there. Somebody needs it out there. I guarantee somebody in your life needs it. If you guys want to reach me on Twitter at Maintenance Mav, hit me up. We can talk about anything. We can talk about wrestling. I do not mind much. Mark, it's up to you, man.
Well, guys, I found an extra page, so it ended up being 4 pages. Anyway, guys, I love you. I want to tell I love my co-host, and I appreciate the fact that they include me in on these. So I'm very happy there, happy. And I hope all of you can feel my smile through the through the screen. All right, guys, look, we've enjoyed putting this together for y'all this weekend, and we hope you enjoy. And as always, look, I'm Memphis Market for you on Twitter. You can hit me up whenever you like. Any suggestions you have, please send it to 1-800. There's a number somewhere that you can. Anyway, I'm gonna, before I say anything else that is bad, I'm gonna exit out of here. So for the great Maintenance Maverick from across the pond and the And he's Southern. I just like using that accent. But we all would like to say thank you. And for me, I'm going to say, as usual, foster if you can, spay and neuter. And guys, what do you think? Are we out of here?
I have one last thing to say.
Oh, please.
Jennifer, baby doll, just a few more days and we're going to be together.
And Jennifer, I don't know if you realize I'm coming too. All right, so guys, we just wanted to end this, and look, this is the way we'll do it. This is for everyone here, and Jennifer, we're all coming, and yeah, we got about 4 more 5. We're trying to get a bus, but anyway, guys, y'all have a great one, and for everyone here, we are out.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to Patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.